Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. What a fantastic video game. So good in fact that I already made a video explaining why it is so good. But I don't know, I feel that I can do something more. One more fun video for this masterpiece of a video game. One of the best things that keep it so addictive is its amazing combat system. With more than 25 jobs at your disposal, Infinite Wealth is a game whose gameplay rarely turns boring simply because of how flexible it can be. So because of that, I decided to make a tier list on all the jobs available in the game. However, this tier list is a bit special since I won't be doing it alone. So what better person to talk about Yakuza than a Shin Megami Tensei channel? It's been a few years, but I'm pretty sure some of you might remember my good friend, Macca!
Hello everybody, how you doing? My name is Macca. I am a good friend of El Game Shell over here, and I am more than happy to be here to talk about some of my favorite jobs in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
Same disclaimer I give every single time. This video is 100% our own personal experiences and opinions. So if there's something you disagree with, then please let us know in the comments after you watch the video. If that's good, then let's start with the bottom of the barrel, the D tier. Starting off with the D tiers, we have Detective. Now, let me make something clear. This is in no way a personal attack towards Adachi. He's a fantastic character, and in terms of gameplay, I do enjoy giving him the spotlight. He's great! That is, as long as I'm not using his unique class. Yeah, Detective isn't exactly the best job out there. It's a class that focuses on HP and defense, making Adachi the party's tank. And honestly, when it comes to that, he does a fine job. He may be slow, but Adachi will no doubt be in a lot of pain before he goes down. And in terms of combat prowess, he does suffer some decent support by debuffing enemies and still being able to dish out some decent damage. Some of his moves, like Heavy Beatdown and Breaking Top, are some of my favorites in his arsenal. Hell, even his Essence moves are so hilarious to look at, I enjoy them so much. Honestly, when I look back at it, I don't really dislike this class as many other people do. But I do have a good reason as to why it is on D tier. It is completely outclassed by another job I'll mention down the line, but you'll see when we get there.
If it's any consolation, at least Adachi isn't alone this tier. Giving him some company, we have Psycho with her barmaid class. Now, I heard this job was buffed in this game, but I'm not entirely sure about that. This is a class that has always confused me. Like, what is it even supposed to do? It has physical attacks, magic attacks, buffs, debuffs, and healing, but none of them are exactly good? It's one of those jack-of-all-trade classes that excels in nothing. I tried to give it another chance in this game, but quite frankly, Psycho didn't start to give me good results until I swapped her to something else.
And at the end of the D tiers, we have Breaker. You know, after seeing all the classes they removed in Infinite Wealth, all I can think is, damn, why did Breaker have to make a return? I'm sorry, this is the only class I have zero fun using. It's cool to look at, sure, but in terms of how much utility I get out of it, nah. The thing about Breaker is that it is a class that grants different types of buffs depending on the skills you use. Dealing damage while buffing yourself does sound good on paper, but I have so many gripes with it. Even if you use a skill, you're not guaranteed to always get a buff. Some of these buffs feel a bit useless too, like, why will I want to increase my magic if I am using a physical attack? The class is also very lacking in AoE attacks, and the very few it has have so little range it makes me wonder if I should keep bothering with them. But the worst part is, even if you get a buff, it is only applied to you. Your party members get no benefits at all. It's a very selfish class. I have a friend who enjoys Breaker, and he described this job as having a snowball effect. It takes a while to get going, but the results are gonna be worth it in the end. I can see where he's coming from, however, I think this class just asks for too much. Even if I fully buff myself, by that time the battle will most likely be over. And still, even while fully buffed, I don't think Breaker does that much damage. Its stats are way too balanced for me to notice a difference. Self-buffs are nice and all, but there are other classes who can grant buffs to everyone, and some others have skills that deal more damage and have cooler effects that still buff you in the process. Breaker is the only class in the game that I see zero purpose behind its existence. If you know of any cool games with it, then please let me know. I'll be interested if any of you managed to make this class work, cause I sure as hell didn't. Moving on to the C tier, we start with Ichiban's unique class, the Freelancer. Now, I was planning to put this one on D tier, but there is one thing that saves this class for me. The sheer power behind it. Freelancer deals so much damage it's unreal. Now, this job doesn't have anything special behind it. Almost all the skills are damage type against a single opponent. You have low accuracy moves, the lack of AoE really sucks, and damn, even the essence move is so boring to look at. By all accounts, Freelancer should be at the bottom of the barrel. But again, this class hits like a truck and I enjoy that so much. During the post-game content, I made Ichiban a Freelancer, gave him his hero skills as a bonus, and I have a main character who could support the entire party and then dish out absurd amounts of damage. I didn't even have to use a single Freelancer skill at all. All I needed was to use the Asakura's merciless melee and knockout combo skills you learn through sub-stories. It's so funny cause I've seen a lot of people upset that they removed Ichiban's stack slap from the previous game. But no dude, these skills are on par, if not better than that. It's insane how Freelancer is a very basic and boring class, but that attack stat is so good that it puts it on C tier. Coming up next, we have Chitose's unique class, Heres. I don't want to repeat what I said earlier, but this job reminds me a bit to Psycho's Barmaid. It's a class that does everything, but doesn't really excel in any area. The reason as to why it is on C tier is because, unlike Barmaid, this class has a few moves I find more useful. Her AoE attacks seem better to me, her grapple moves are more amusing to watch. Triple Corsage is an amazing move that deals good damage and lowers the opponent's attack. And then you have Aperitifs, an amazing move that heals the party and removes debuffs in the process. As you will say in English, this is hella expensive. But damn, what an amazing healing move. And you know, her essence moves are also great to watch, they're very funny.
But before we leave this tier, we have Action Star, and there's not much else to say, it's fine. It deals a decent amount of damage, it's good for the early game, but yeah, I don't have much more to say. My feelings for this job are kinda similar to how Lewis feels to Freelancer, just not as extreme. It deals good damage, it has decent speed, and it's very fun to look at and listen to. Honestly, seeing the characters go woo ha 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 woo is really funny.
Also, fun story, a friend of mine made Adachi an action star because, I quote, "Dude, he's now a detective who knows Kung Fu. It's the closest we will get to Yagami being in infinite wealth." And quite frankly, I saw zero issues with his logic. We have now reached the B tier, filled with classes which I can only describe as good. They were fun, just not as fun as the higher tiers. Kicking off things, we have the other Ichiban class of the game, Hero. While playing Infinite Wealth, I heard a lot of people say that Hero was nerfed here, and I kinda see where they're coming from. Hero doesn't seem to hit as hard as in the previous game. I did notice its sheer power was toned down a bit. However, that doesn't mean it's awful now by any means, oh no. The best part about Hero is that it still excels at what it does best, bringing support to the party. Whether it be buffing in a wide area, healing allies, reviving them, or even preventing Ichiban from dying, this class is excellent in that area, and it only gets better as Ichiban's personality develops through gameplay. The support that the Hero class gives is very useful, so what I like to do is give it a few level ups and then transfer those skills to other classes. Again, I had a Freelancer Ichiban with Hero skills that work wonders for me. That amazing support is what keeps this class on B tier. Now, we have the other Ichiban class, Sujimancer. Honestly, all I can say is that it's a fun class. You have a wide variety of elemental spells for coverage. You get AoEs, knockback attacks, and even a few status effects as well as healing. Hell, even the descriptions of the moves are ridiculously funny. And of course, seeing your own Sujimon in battle is always a treat and a very clever idea, honestly. However, it is also a double-edged sword. because if you don't level up and swap Sujimon constantly, then Sujimancer falls behind really badly. But if you do the whole Sujimon quest early on like I did, then you'll find yourself with a fun and useful class for most of the game. Next up we have two classes that apparently were also very nerfed in this game, Xiao's Gangster and Jungihan's Hitman. These two jobs unfortunately lost some skills that made them extremely powerful. Gangster lost Drunken Tiger Fist, while Hitman lost Head Trauma, a move so well known by yakuza fans due to how absurdly strong it was for no reason at all. I'm serious! Jungi-Han used to have this move by default. It was extremely cheap and it felt like it did as much damage as the Essence move, sometimes even more. However, even if these classes were nerfed, I don't think they're terrible by any means. Xiao's class still has a lot of raw power and utility. His moves pack quite a punch, and most of them can buff him or debuff the enemy. Not to mention, he got a pretty useful move in home-cooked dim sum. Meanwhile, Hitman got a few changes thanks to the mechanic where characters can now move in battle. His skills are already good on their own, but some of them gain extra effects if he attacks enemies from the back. Only thing I don't like about it is the lack of useful AoE attacks. Divine Shot is still there, but it didn't feel as useful as it was in the previous game for some reason. Regardless of the case, even if these classes lost their most iconic moves, I don't think they were as terrible as some people online made them seem.
Now, we have a new class, Pyro Dancer. I like this class because it reminds me of the Berserkers from Fire Emblem. You know, carrying axes, being shirtless, and having a lot of power but no defenses. This class is one I enjoyed, it's just, I didn't use it as much as the others. But what I experienced was very fun in its own right. I especially love the Essence moves where they just look so cool. The one is like, was it Essence of Mask or whatever? That one is so cool. You turn to like Skull Kid, you just like rip away at their face. It's super cool. Good attack and utility, and it is a very fun watch. I like it. And at the end of the B tiers, we have a DLC class, Linebacker. So, remember how we put Detective on D tier because we said it was completely outclassed by another job? Well, we were referring to Linebacker, and I'm serious, this class does everything I wish Detective could do. It actually has good attack and good physical defenses, but it's set apart by other things as well. It actually has good speed, a self-heal that buffs you in the process. Hell, it also has a similar move where you spin enemies around the arena. And not just that, many skills here cause decent damage and have the chance to inflict rage at the same time. So all damage gets redirected back to the Linebacker. That's how you do a tank. And the best part? All the male characters have access to it. I mean, I still think Adachi is one of the better users of it, but it's so cool that anyone can make use of this class, so long as they have a penis. Now, this might sound familiar, but the reason why Linebacker isn't on A tier is because there are some skills we don't find that cool or useful. But also because there's another tank class we think is among the best in the game. But hey, if you actually spend extra money to get Linebacker, I think you'll be satisfied.
Now that we're done with the B tier, it's time we move to the next one. Here are classes that you should totally consider investing into simply because they're strong or have skills that are worth getting. So opening up the A tier, we have two classes I love on equal terms. Namba's Homeless Guy and the Host Job. These classes aren't too different when you think about it. Both excel in dealing magic attacks, whether it be Pigeon Storm, Birthday Bonanza or Rose Stinger, enemies will suffer hard because of them. And yet, both classes also deliver some great utility. Both can take items from the enemy, debuff them, and even support the party. Homeless Guy has some incredible self-support moves for Namba. Fully recovering HP while removing his status effects with Power Slumber is amazing. And then he can greatly boost his defenses with Umbrella Barrier, that's a great move! Then you got Host, boosting its sheer power with Coercive Shout and Wonder Cocktail. This class hits hard! In the end, you can't go wrong with any of these jobs, it all comes down to preference, but personally, I think I might like Namba's Homeless Guy just a tiny bit more. but that's just because he has essence of big ass bird. And I'm not even talking about the damage or effects. I just love the name and cinematic of the attack. It's so damn cool. Aquanaut is a very weird job. It's one of those where you look at its stats and think, wow, they're way too balanced. And naturally, you will think this class couldn't excel at anything, and sure, there are other jobs who do what Aquanaut does, but better. But even so, while Aquanaut isn't exactly the best at what it does, it still does a lot of things right. You have a good selection of physical and magical attacks. Some apply buffs to yourself, while others apply status effects. You even have some amazing AoE attacks, and even healing to the whole party by materializing a grill out of thin air. Oh yeah, did I mention that this class can pull out a giant tuna like a Looney Tunes character and stun the enemy with it? I love that. It's a class that does so many things right and is extremely fun to use and look at.
Desperado, a very cool and very versatile class. This is a job that seems to always have something for different scenarios. First, you have a ton of different gun attacks. You can unleash a barrage of bullets in front of you or massacre a bunch of enemies around you by spinning your guns around. You can break their guards with your lasso and even inflict magic damage by blowing dynamite up in their face or poisoning them with some medicine. If your HP is running low, you can always set up a campfire to heal up. And of course, you can't be a cowboy without a one-on-one duel where you pull out a railgun. Desperado is incredible, simple as that.
Here's a classic that many Like a Dragon fans will remember. Idol, also known as the real Psycho class. And who can argue against that? When it comes to support, this class is second to none. It can restore absurd amounts of HP and even cure status effects without needing to be right next to your teammates. You can even revive a fallen party member while also restoring their entire HP, and it comes at a low price. It's so damn good! So, why is it only on A tier? Well, for as useful as this class is, I also find it a bit boring to use at times. Like, make no mistake, objectively, this class is amazing. But I also like my jobs to be a bit more dynamic, involved, you know what I'm saying? In other classes, I have to think a bit more about my positioning, press the right buttons at the right time, and even looking at other attacks is very fun. But Idol is just heal here, now cure status effects, now revive a teammate, and so on and so on. The physical attacks are kinda worthless since this class barely has any attack to begin with. And the status effect skills are nice and all, but I don't think they're that useful most of the time. Only one that ever helped me was Love Drunk Typhoon, which can reduce enemy defenses. So yeah, while this class can be considered a bit broken by some, and I won't argue against that, for me, it's just not that fun to use or watch. But hey, A tier is still great, don't you think? Night Queen, take a shot if you instantly get this job to Sonhee as soon as possible. To be fair, I don't think anyone can be blamed for that because Night Queen packs a mean punch. Or kick, in this case. Almost every single skill here deals a lot of damage, on top of having some good coverage for different scenarios. Many attacks have a good chance to charm enemies, and if they don't do that, you can still pull off a few buffs or debuffs. Its main weakness is that it doesn't have a lot of support. I mean, you can always grab your allies' balls to fully heal them and boost their attack. But that's about it. Still, dealing damage is what this job should be doing most of the time, and it does it so well. Geodancer. For me this class is basically Hawaiian Idol, just not as effective in terms of healing, but damn, it's much more fun to use. This class can support the party with a lot of buffs, healing, and reviving teammates. Essence of Natural Healing is such a busted move whose only drawback is how expensive it is to use. However, where Geodancer actually excels the most is in dealing magic attacks. You have amazing moves like Honolulu Hips and Kumuhula Corkscrew that can lower an enemy's willpower, making your next magic attack hit even harder. And then you can finish off a lot of enemies with Blossoming Uli Uli. This class has great support, hits hard, and is very fun to use. I love it so much. Also, every time I use Kumuhula Corkscrew, I can't help but think of cutting Kansuki in Street Fighter V.
Housekeeper. This class makes it all the way to A tier just for one simple reason, and it's a little skill called Scum Scraper. Easily one of the best moves in the entire game. So what does it do? Well, first, it's a magic-based skill, therefore it's never gonna miss. Second, it deals damage, and third, it removes the enemy buffs. It sounds so simple, but I cannot stress enough how useful this is during combat. This is why you should always try to have a female character in combat, because they're the only ones with access to this skill. It's amazing against those annoying dungeon enemies with the boxes, and it's a savior against bosses. I mean, the rest of the class is good too. There's some cool moves here or there, but Scum Scraper is the move that shoots it all the way to A tier. And now, to finish this section off, we have Kunoichi. With blinding speed and skills that constantly increase your agility, Kunoichi will always be the first to act in combat. And not just that, the more speed buffs this class gets, the more damage you can unleash with certain skills. It takes a little bit to set up, but once you do, you can demolish the beefiest enemies in a matter of seconds. And hell, even if you don't have anything to do at the time, you can always give your turn to a teammate, keeping the momentum going. Kunoichi may not be the strongest right away, but once you set it up properly, the returns will be more than worth it.
Okay, now we have reached the S tier. Here we have the 6 classes that, in our opinion, are the strongest, the best, and the most fun in the entire game.
Starting off, we have the most obvious choice. Kiryu's exclusive job, the Dragon of Dojima. A class that does an excellent effort in capturing the essence of his games, letting you swap between 3 different combat styles. Brawler, which is your standard damage dealing type, which can also trigger heat actions. Beast, which is amazing for crowd control as well as granting you better defenses. And Rush, which increases your speed at the cost of less damage, but also letting you act twice in a single turn, making it excellent for taking out enemies with low health. Each of these 3 styles also just gets better and better the more you fulfill Kiryu's bucket list. But that's not all. The class also comes in with a wide variety of skills that deal a lot of damage and have great effects. Literally, the only drawback to Dragon of Dojima is that it has 0 support. But A, you can fix that through skill inheritance, and B, the sheer versatility and fun factor of this class more than makes up for it. Even without the Komaki skills, just swapping between Brawler, Beast, and Rush make this one of the best classes in the whole game. I do not hesitate at all to put it on S tier.
Now, we have the best character in the whole game carrying one of the best jobs, Tomisawa's Cabbie. Now, I don't know if this is my Tomisawa bias speaking, or Cabbie's just that good. By all means and purposes, it shouldn't be that amazing. The stats are very balanced, yet I find that every tool in this arsenal is amazing. You have different types of damage, knockback, great AoE attacks, magic skills, and so much more. My favorite part about this class are Scrub Down and Oil and Toil. Skills that deal good damage, but also lower the enemy resistances to electricity and fire respectively. This pairs up amazing with other party members, but even then, Tomisawa also has his own electric and fire attacks that hit even harder. And on top of that, this class is just extremely fun to look at. I love seeing Tomisawa doing a flip to throw a tire, use a car battery to electrocute enemies, and even use flares to deal fire damage. This class is cool, versatile, and insanely fun, made only even better by Tomisawa himself saying stuff like, let's go. Now, we have Assassin. Imagine if Hitman, Night Queen, and Kunoichi were put together in a blender, and the end result is this class. It takes the better aspects of those jobs and does something even better. It is purely offensive, but god, it's so good. You have skills that hit extremely hard, a bowgun that guarantees critical hits if you attack from the back, flash and gas grenades that deal damage and apply status effects, and one of the most broken moves in the game, Stentonian Whip, whose range and power are beyond ridiculous! And you mean to tell me it can also paralyze foes? That's insane! Oh, and if that wasn't enough, you also have Essence of Wicked Web, which can catch almost all the enemies on the field, hit them really hard, and again, paralyze them! I don't know if the person who designed Assassin was in love with Sunhee, but given how crazy good this job is, you can't help but think there was some bias here. And I'm all down for that. It's so good. Next we have some classes that I love so much, I think they're great, but if you put them together, they're near unstoppable. Samurai and Chef. The former is an amazing tank with excellent coverage. The latter is a bit more versatile. It deals some good damage, but it also does a great job at applying status effects. And here's the thing. When these two classes work together, you can demolish enemies in a matter of seconds! The thing about them is that both are excellent at applying the bleed status, and when they do that, their skills become much more powerful. They can deal absurd amounts of damage. Chef in particular has a skill that can remove the bleed effect, but can also fully debuff a random stat from the enemy. It's insane how good this combo is. I remember when I fought the super boss of Infinite Wealth on Discord, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, get ready for a long battle, it took me like an hour to beat this guy," and I'm not kidding you, thanks to Samurai and Chef I was able to defeat the super boss in just 3 minutes, I'm dead serious! And again, even if you use these jobs individually, they're still a lot of fun. But the fact that they carried me all the way to the super boss with no problem at all made them worthy of the S tier.
Finally, at the end of it all, we have the one, the only, the immaculate Tennis Ace. Honestly, I do not condone the DLC practices Sega is using for this game, but if there is a single reason you should invest more money into this, it is this class. Tennis Ace is incredible. It's fast, it hits hard, it has decent utility, and can even take a beating at the same time. There is not a single thing this class does wrong, there is not a single move that isn't useful. All of them matter from beginning to end, but just like with Housemaid, there is one particular skill so excellent that it brings this class all the way up to S tier. Court Maintenance. This attack is basically Scum Scraper, except it's physical, a bit more expensive, but all of this coming in exchange for hitting multiple enemies at the same time. Literally, its only drawback is that it has a chance to miss, but if you ever feel insecure, you can always inherit Scum Scraper and have the 2 best moves in the game at the same time. But even if Court Maintenance didn't exist, Tennis Ace is such a strong and fun class that I would have scored it high regardless. That is why I'm putting it in S tier, and with that, the tier list is complete.
Hey, that's my line!
Thank you for watching my video. I enjoyed making it. It's so fun. Make sure you subscribe to my channel. It's all my work. I hope you have a nice day. Bye-bye.
So, what did you think? Did you agree with our placements? Is there something you will put differently? Did you think Macca is sexy?
I am!
If so, then please let us know in the comments. And while you're at it, thank you so much for your time. We really hope you enjoyed the video. And if you want to support, either Macca or me, you can do so by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, or even Patreon. That will help us so much. He has loan sharks after him, and my rent was just raised recently. Damn it! Anyway, have a wonderful day, and take care! I'll see you next time!
Go check out our other collab on my channel, it's really good. You all have a nice day, bye-bye.